Hello! If you're watching this, congratulations! Your workplace has entered the second stage of our plan to unionize you and your fellow workers. We made this video to explain the purpose and history of unions in a delicious top 5. During the first stage, we distributed flyers to the workers from all the locations in the city in a single day. Quite a few workers got back to us and formed an organizing committee on the Discord server we made, and now those workers are trying to reach out to you so that you join as well. You probably have a lot of questions when coming into this situation, and this video is here to clarify why a union is such a good thing. Here are the top 5 reasons to join a union. Number 1. A history of improved working conditions. Unions are groups of workers that get together when working conditions are terrible, in order to pressure the company they work for to fix things. Unions were created through the idea that workers are the ones who bring all of the value to the company, because without them, none of the work would ever get done. And they were right. Through the uses of strikes, sit-ins, letters of demands, and political campaigns, unions were able to secure a lot of concessions from bosses and the government. You still benefit from some of those today. In the 19th and 20th centuries, unions fought to get many workers the weekend off. Unions were the ones who ended child labor in the USA in 1881. In the 30s and 40s, unions worked to get workers the 40-hour work week and overtime pay. Union workers today gain, on average, $200 more per month than their non-unionized counterparts. They also have a higher percentage of workers who have healthcare. In fact, unions worked so well that US capitalists had to send the army to stop a union of miners from obtaining good working conditions. Crazy, right? In 1921, miners who were being exploited by company towns unionized against the working conditions that were killing many of them. The mining company didn't make it easy for them, hiring union busters to beat up organizers, putting workers of different nationalities together on purpose so they couldn't communicate efficiently, and even calling the army when a strike made the company's value drop too low. The miners' union was only asking for simple things like a monthly pay that was higher than the rent in the company town, for one. But their needs weren't met, and this culminated in the Battle of Blair Mountain in 1921, where the company used military planes to drop bombs on the miners to force them to surrender. You might have learned that Pearl Harbor was the first time military planes dropped bombs on US civilians in US soil, but in fact, it was the Battle of Blair Mountain that saw the first casualties of that type. For more information on company towns and the Battle of Blair Mountain, we recommend this video. Fortunately, not every country had such a violent response to unionizing attempts. Europe is what America might look like today if atrocities like the Battle of Blair Mountain had never happened. European workplaces have a ton of benefits thanks to a strong culture of unionizing. Example number 1, better healthcare. 100% of French people have healthcare compared to the US's 92%. And on top of that, 95% of French people have a second private insurance to help cover more healthcare costs. Example 2, higher pay. France has a minimum monthly wage of $1,750, while the average US worker gets only $1,250. 3, more paid time off. Europeans have 4 to 5 weeks of vacation time per year, compared to US workers at 2 weeks per year. In 2019, a survey revealed that 56% of employees in the US take a lunch break of approximately 30 minutes. It's not a lot compared to the 2 to 3 hours that you can get in Europe. Americans worked an average of 1,800 hours a year, compared to France's 1,500 hours per year. But that's enough about Europe for now. Let's focus on what unions do for workers today. 2. Unions stop corporate from scamming you. Work law is super complicated and long, so it's no wonder that most workers don't know their rights, and a lot of companies rely on your lack of knowledge to get more money and time out of you. For example, wage theft is a huge problem in the US, because in 2019, 26% of workers suffered from it. What companies do is that they will take off a few of your work hours from your work week so that they don't have to pay you for all the time that you worked. On average, those 4.6 million workers lost $200 per year to wage theft, and it all goes to the companies who rely on you being too tired to add up all of the hours you worked for every shift that you took this month and calculate it. Unions can hire people to double-check your hours so that this doesn't happen to you. Unions also fight for illegal workers who get less benefits than the others simply because they cannot report any workplace code violations to the police. If you have illegal immigrant workers in your workplace, getting a union will help them be treated like decent workers too. In the old days, unions opposed scams like company towns, where a mining company would own the buildings and all the shops around a mine. That meant that all of the money made by the workers was transferred right back to the company that overcharged rent to force the miners into debt. This scam is coming back, and it's super shady because Amazon is trying to bring company towns back by having their workers live at their jobs. This is not going to end well if we don't quickly form unions in every workplace. But unions are also efficient against corporate propaganda. Indeed, the modern strategy of union busters is to spread misinformation about unions to stop workers from joining them. These expensive campaigns only have a few anti-union arguments that get repeated a lot, but that don't actually hold up to scrutiny. Union busters try to convince workers it isn't worth it to have a union because you have to pay dues to finance it. They often bring up that union dues add up to an average of $700 per year, but they always fail to mention that those same unionized workers gain an extra $2,400 per year from the union renegotiating their wages. The same companies will organize mandatory meetings for employees to watch anti-union propaganda videos. These meetings will often float the idea that a store has to close down if a union is organized, but the truth is that out of the 51% of the companies that threaten to close down for a union, only 1% actually go through with it. They repeat this threat of you losing your jobs because they have more to lose, their workers. Union busters also say that it is possible for wages to go down instead of up if a union is formed at your workplace, but the actual numbers do not reflect this at all. Unions will work hard to keep workers informed about their rights and disprove corporate propaganda. 3. Dual power unions protect you against pyramid schemes. Pyramid schemes are defined like this. Pyramid scheme is a fraudulent system of making money based on recruiting an ever-increasing number of investors. The problem with that very accurate description is that more structures fall under this definition than you might think. Under capitalism, the goal of companies is to make the most profit by collecting the fruit of the workers' labor and then paying them way less than the value of that labor. To do this, capitalism produces hierarchies which allow this sort of exploitation. Companies will have a pyramidal structure like pyramid schemes with the CEOs and shareholders at the top getting paid the most for the least amounts of hours worked, and entry-level workers at the bottom doing most of the labor for the lowest pay. This means that for-profit hierarchical companies use the workers just like a pyramid scheme uses investors. But a lot of things are structured like hierarchies. A school has a headmaster at the top and students burdened with college debt at the bottom. The army is a pyramid with the US president at the top and poor kids who just wanted a free education at the bottom. Governments, hospitals, administrations, crime syndicates, and even some unions follow this basic structure. And that's a big problem because it's all too easy for those at the top to abuse their positions of power. I love unions with all my heart, but even those structures are prone to corruption if they are shaped like a pyramid. Recently, papers leaked that the union that backs up the John Deere strike had a corruption scandal. Thankfully, the scandal didn't stop the strike, and they successfully renegotiated their contracts. So, if unions that are hierarchies aren't the solution, what is the solution? That's where dual power unions come in. Dual power groups are structured like a flat surface, with no one standing on top of the others and no positions of power. That type of structure means that your voice will always be heard in that type of union, and that you will reap the same exact rewards as all of the other members. We made an entire video on dual power structures that you should watch if you want to fully understand how they work and their historical context. Dual power unions are operated by the workers, for the workers, and to benefit the workers. They provide an important example of groups that aren't hierarchies so that we can imagine and plan for a world of equality. 4. The more, the stronger. A union finds its strength in numbers. The union has grown to have enough members they can demand better wages, better working conditions, and better healthcare for all the workers. If these demands aren't met, a union has many tools to pressure the company into cooperating. By declaring a strike, the union can remind everyone that the workers are the ones producing all of the company's wealth. This means that many union campaigns live and die by how efficiently they can recruit more workers into the structure. It also means that by joining, you aren't just benefiting yourself, but all of your co-workers as well. The more people are in a union, the more likely everyone is to keep their jobs because the company would incur enormous losses for firing many employees. The more people are in a union, the better they can negotiate for better pay for all. Unions that are large enough are sometimes able to buy back the company that they work for and operate it for the workers. Sadly, this is where the cultural difference between the US and Europe makes things difficult. The US school system doesn't teach about unions, and media tends to portray unions as criminal organizations, like the Techno Union in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. This cultural difference is because in Europe, they didn't have companies that hired brutes to threaten and even kill union organizers. But in the US, violence against labor movements is much more common and often even perpetrated by law enforcement. The Battle of Blair Mountain is one good example, but we could also mention the Latimer Massacre, where 19 unarmed workers were gunned down by police just for asking for better working conditions. This mixture of murder and propaganda means that less people know about unions and their benefits in the US than they do in Europe, and so it is harder to convince them of the benefits of unionizing. Companies have been spending tons of money into anti-union campaigns for centuries, fighting a cultural war against unions. We have been in this war since before our birth, but with a few simple actions, we can tip the scales. Visit our website to see the 5 steps you need to take so that a union can be formed to protect your workplace. We need to normalize unions again by creating them, joining them, and making memes about them. The battlefield for this war is in the minds of all of your co-workers who hesitate to pick a side. This is why we made this video, in order to inform others as best we can about those wonderful groups. 5. It can be done. Friends, we can do it. If each person who watches this video in your company convinces one other person to watch it and join the union, we will eventually get all of the workers on our side. This, I believe, is our best hope to liberate and empower all the workers of the world. Humans are such ingenious creatures that we have found ways to overcome every obstacle in our path so far. I believe that with this ingenuity, we will unionize and reclaim the long hours that we have sacrificed to an uncaring workplace. I believe that by creating and joining dual power groups, we will have a strong foundation to build a better tomorrow. I believe that when you get $20 an hour from your job, we will be able to spend less time at work and more time building communities and fighting the climate disaster. I believe that even if you don't believe a union can help you, you know someone at your work with 5 kids and 3 jobs who could really benefit from your presence in the union. I believe that you deserve a job that treats you well instead of just claiming to be one big family. I believe that you will hear me when I say, please help me build a community that will support you and your coworkers. And that message extends to managers as well. You managers might think that you're already changing things from the inside, but you're fooling yourselves, and you will burn out before you make a single dent in the company hierarchy. At the end of the day, wouldn't it be nice to have fully staffed shifts? Wouldn't it be better to get $20 an hour and get all of your workers the same? Wouldn't it be better if you didn't have to take orders from corporate and slave away to make CEOs more money? If the union is set up, you will be equal to all other employees instead of having to step on their faces to climb the hierarchy. You can make the same choice as all of the other workers. Become a unionized worker who is equal to all of the others, or keep working like the planet is going to survive long enough for you to retire. But it isn't. Climate change is going to become irreversible in 6 years, so you have to ask yourself, is it okay to be wasting your employees' time making money for the CEO when we are all running out of time? Aren't you tired of having to turn off your empathy towards your employees just so that you can be a competent boss? It is not healthy to see humans as just a means of producing wealth, and you might want to see a shrink while your salary allows it. It's the same choice for a corporate. You can keep slowly climbing the corporate ladder to an okay retirement, or you can realize that this pyramid you're ascending is going to collapse soon. The supply chains are already breaking down. You see it when you get the groceries. Capitalism is dying, and we need to build new structures if we don't want to die alongside. It's the same choice for the CEOs. If you CEOs gain all of your money from hard work, then it shouldn't be a problem for you to get an entry unionized job and keep making immense amounts of money, right? Why don't you use that famous pull yourself by your bootstraps technique? CEOs, everyone around you can see the greed inside, and we all know from the movies that the capitalists are the real villains. You could just come down from your position of power and become one of us in the union, but you have to choose now. Either you work with us, or you start thinking of places to crawl into and hide for when the revolution comes. Thanks for watching the video. Please share it with the people of your workplace and join your workplace union. We have links in the description to the union's Discord server for the workplace that we're currently organizing.